Before Cohiba was the world's most famous cigar, before Montecristo became the name every beginner learns first, before Romeo y Julieta was romanticized on every cigar bar menu from London to Tokyo, there was LA Corona, one of the oldest, most prestigious cigar factories in all of Havana. A name so respected that the factory itself became the crown jewel of Cuban cigar production, literally. La Corona means the crown in Spanish, and for decades that name was earned every single day inside one of the most legendary tobacco operations the world has ever seen. And then Cuba changed forever. And La Corona, the real La Corona, the original one, left the island and was never the same again. Most cigar smokers today have heard the name. Almost none of them know the real story. Welcome back to the Forgotten Cigars. This one is going to hit different. Let's get into it. The origins: a factory built for royalty. La Corona's roots trace back to the mid-1800s in Havana, Cuba, during a period when the city was arguably the cigar capital of the entire world, and the demand for premium Cuban tobacco among wealthy European and American consumers was at an all-time high. The factory that carried the La Corona name was not a small operation. It was one of the largest and most sophisticated cigar manufacturing facilities in Havana, employing hundreds of skilled torcedores and producing an enormous volume of premium hand-rolled cigars across multiple brand lines. The name La Corona, the crown, was not chosen casually. It was a deliberate statement of ambition and quality, positioning the factory and its output as the pinnacle of Cuban cigar production, at a time when that meant being the pinnacle of cigar production anywhere on Earth. From its earliest days, La Corona established itself as a factory associated with premium, export-quality tobacco, targeting the wealthiest consumers in the United States, Europe and beyond, rather than building its reputation on domestic Cuban consumption alone. The factory's management and ownership during its early decades were deeply invested in the craft of cigar making, maintaining relationships with specific tobacco growers in Cuba's Vuelta Abajo region, widely considered the finest tobacco growing land on the planet, and ensuring that only the best leaf made it into their rolling rooms. By the turn of the 20th century, La Corona had established itself as one of the most respected names in the industry, a factory whose output was sought after by premium tobacconists and collectors across multiple continents. The Golden Age, La Corona at its peak. In the first half of the 20th century, La Corona operated at the absolute peak of its prestige and production capacity, turning out some of the most respected cigars available anywhere in the world under the La Corona brand and a range of associated labels. The factory became known not just for the quality of individual cigars, but for an extraordinary level of consistency, the ability to produce thousands of premium hand-rolled cigars that met exacting standards day after day, year after year, across different sizes and blend profiles. La Corona cigars were sold through the most prestigious retail channels available, including high-end tobacconists, luxury hotels, private clubs, and specialty retailers in major American and European cities, cementing the brand's association with wealth, taste, and sophistication. The brand had strong roots in the American market in particular, where demand for premium Cuban cigars was enormous during the pre-embargo era, and La Corona was consistently positioned among the top tier of available products. Collectors and historians who have researched this period often describe La Corona as one of the essential Cuban cigar brands of its era, not just a respected name, but a factory whose entire identity was built around the pursuit of excellence in tobacco craftsmanship. The factory itself became a point of pride within Havana's cigar industry, a landmark operation that represented the best of what Cuban cigar manufacturing could produce when given the resources, the expertise, and the commitment to quality that La Corona maintained during its golden years. Corporate consolidation, the first cracks appear. Like many of the great Cuban cigar brands of the early 20th century, La Corona's story became complicated by corporate consolidation long before the Cuban Revolution changed everything. In the early decades of the 20th century, the American Tobacco Company, one of the most powerful corporate entities in the history of the tobacco industry, moved aggressively to acquire or control major Cuban cigar brands and factories, including operations associated with La Corona. This consolidation brought capital and distribution power, but it also introduced a corporate layer between the factory's traditional craftsmen and the decisions that shaped production, a tension that would become increasingly significant as the century progressed. Changes in ownership and management priorities during this period meant that some of the deeply personal, craft-focused traditions that had defined La Corona's early decades were now subject to broader business considerations, cost efficiency, volume production, and market positioning across a large portfolio of brands, rather than single-minded focus on any one label. Despite these changes, La Corona maintained its reputation through the first half of the 20th century, largely because the core workforce, the master torcedores, the tobacco selectors, the blend specialists, remained deeply committed to the craft regardless of who owned the operation at the corporate level. The Cuban Revolution changes everything. When Fidel Castro's revolutionary government took power in 1959, the nationalization of Cuba's tobacco industry that followed transformed La Corona, along with every other major Cuban cigar operation, overnight. The La Corona factory in Havana was absorbed into Cuba Tobacco, the state-run entity that took control of Cuban cigar production, distribution, and export following nationalization. For the factory's workers, this transition meant continuing to roll cigars in the same building, using much of the same tobacco, but under entirely different management priorities. State production quotas replaced the market-driven quality standards that had defined La Corona's output for decades. Many of the original owners, managers, and master blenders associated with La Corona were among the thousands of Cuban cigar industry professionals who fled the island in the years following the revolution, taking their expertise, their institutional knowledge, and their relationships with them. This exodus of human talent was arguably as damaging to the original La Corona identity as the nationalization itself, because what made La Corona special wasn't just the factory building or the Cuban tobacco, it was the accumulated knowledge and craft of the people who had spent generations perfecting the blend and the process. With the original team scattered across Miami, Tampa, the Dominican Republic, and beyond, and the factory now operating under state management, the La Corona that existed after 1959 was fundamentally different from the one that had earned its legendary reputation over the previous century. LA Corona outside Cuba. A name divided. In the years and decades following the Cuban Revolution and the United States embargo, the La Corona name became one of the most complicated brand identities in the cigar world, simultaneously existing as a Cuban state-produced brand and as a name being used by manufacturers outside Cuba attempting to carry the legacy forward. In the United States, where Cuban products were banned entirely under the embargo, the La Corona name was eventually associated with cigars produced in other countries, the Dominican Republic, Honduras, and other Central American and Caribbean tobacco regions, where exiled Cuban rollers and blenders were re-establishing operations. These non-Cuban versions of La Corona faced an inherent challenge. The name carried enormous historical weight, but the tobacco, the factory, and the team that had built that reputation were gone, replaced by new operations doing their best to honor a legacy they could no longer authentically replicate. Meanwhile, the Cuban state continued producing cigars under the La Corona name in Havana, marketed internationally in markets where Cuban cigars could still be sold legally, but representing a very different product from what collectors associated with the brand's pre-revolutionary peak. The result was a fractured identity, a legendary name split across competing versions in different markets, none of them able to fully claim the authentic mantle of the original La Corona that had spent a century building its reputation. What the original La Corona really represented. To truly understand the loss represented by La Corona's departure from its original form, it's important to recognize what the brand stood for beyond just the tobacco and the cigars themselves. La Corona represented a philosophy of cigar making, a commitment to using only the finest Vuelta Abajo leaf, to employing master torcedores who treated rolling as an art form, and to maintaining standards that refused to compromise quality for the sake of volume or cost efficiency. The factory was a living institution that embodied decades of accumulated knowledge, specific techniques for selecting and aging leaf, particular approaches to blending that produced the flavor profiles La Corona was known for, and an institutional culture where excellence was expected rather than exceptional. When that institution was disrupted by revolution and exile, the knowledge didn't disappear entirely. It scattered, carried in the minds and hands of the people who had worked there, but it was never reassembled in a single place with the same resources, the same tobacco, and the same focus that had made La Corona what it was. This is what makes surviving pre-revolutionary La Corona cigars so significant to collectors. They aren't just old tobacco, they are physical artifacts from an institution that no longer exists in any meaningful form, proof of what Cuban cigar production was capable of at its absolute peak. So the next time you hear someone mention La Corona, whether it's a modern box on a shop shelf or a reference in a cigar history book, remember that you're hearing an echo of something much bigger. A factory that stood at the crown of Cuban cigar production for over a century, a name that meant something specific and extraordinary, and a story of how revolution, exile, and fragmentation can dismantle even the most established legacy in ways that can never be fully undone. The original La Corona didn't just leave Cuba, it left a void in cigar history that nothing has ever truly filled. That's the story of La Corona, one of the most profound, lost legends in the entire world of premium tobacco. If this story hit home for you, hit subscribe, because every single week on the Forgotten Cigars, we go this deep into the brands, the factories, and the moments that shaped cigar history and then got quietly buried. Drop a comment and tell me, had you heard of the original La Corona before this video? And if you've ever smoked one, new or vintage, I want to know what you experienced. Ring the notification bell so you never miss the next forgotten legend. See you in the next one.